Dungeons of Dredmor was released on July 13th, 2011, developed by Gaslamp Games for the PC and Mac, and it's available on Steam for $4.99. This is a roguelike RPG, and you guys have heard me use this term in many of my other videos. And for those of you that don't remember what a roguelike is, it's an RPG subgenre made with a very specific RPG gamer in mind. I say this because in almost any roguelike, if you die, you lose all of your items, all of your levels, it's back to square one. Yeah, so you can imagine that these kind of games are not for everybody, but I have to stress this. They are without a doubt some of the most addicting RPGs to play, because your sense of character development and your attachment to your character, it feels like you. Because when that character dies, that's it. All the items you acquired and your dozens upon dozens of hours of playing this character in this game are gone in a flash. You're not able to save your game and, reload a save data. It is all gone. So, if that didn't scare you off, let me go on and continue on about what makes Dungeons of Dredmor such an enjoyable game. The game is played from a top-down perspective with some graphics that might seem dated to some of you, but let me just say that roguelike games have started since the 1980s with the game Rogue, and a lot of these kind of roguelike games have very primitive looking graphics. Some of them actually just use text to kind of map out the visuals. So for a roguelike on the PC, this is actually a very good looking game. And the game's cartoony look actually really lends to its humorous and comedic value, because Dungeons of Dredmor actually has a lot of in-jokes and references to all types of games, not just RPGs, but it has references to games such as Monkey Island and Doom, and all types of stuff as small as like a little item in game, to as large as, well, the title screen, which is actually a reference to the original cover of the original Doom. It's really refreshing to see a style like this because it's not too silly and over the top, it's just enough to really make you involved in the game and really interested in the game world that they've crafted here. Alright, so before I get too far ahead of myself here, let's start with creating a new character and starting a new game, because here's where it starts to get really fun. When you go to create a new character, you have 7 skills that you can pick, and you have a very large list of all different types of stuff to choose from. You of course have to pick a weapon type that you want to be proficient in, such as axes, bows, maces, whatever you want to pick, and whichever weapon skill that you choose, you're going to have different abilities to use for that weapon, such as axes will have sort of an attack that'll hit all around you, and swords will be a little bit more focused on defensive capabilities. And then the shields, and of course you have all different types of magic spells, and they really have some fun with the descriptions and titles of these different skills and magic abilities that you can pick, such as Necron Kanranaman, I can't even pronounce it, and then they have blood magic, Viking magic, where the description of Viking magic is simply Hail Odin, so it's kind of some of the stuff you kind of have to use some guesswork with, where you don't quite know what you're getting into when you pick some of these skills, but that's the fun in it, going into the game and seeing what kind of abilities you're going to be able to use. If you want to summon golems, which apparently you summon giant mustaches for your allies. There's fire magic, there's all kinds of stuff to choose from, and there's also crafting as well, so you can choose different crafting skills so that you can craft some items in this game, such as armor and potions. So if you want to be able to make health potions, take on alchemy, and if you want to be able to make your own armor and weapons, they have crafting for that as well. So there's really a large sense of replayability here, because the real sense of this game and the real goal is not to beat it, in one go. The fun of it is making different characters with different skill sets and trying to make it, further and further down into the dungeon, as there are 10 floors, and there is absolutely no way that you're going to beat this in one go on your first try. If you do, you're extremely lucky. So you're going to be making different character combinations and just seeing how far you can get. Now, one thing that I want to stress here is the point of this game and the point of roguelikes is to play with permadeath enabled. They're nice enough to give you options, 3 different difficulty modes. I play on default difficulty, which is normal. There's a slightly harder mode known as Rogue, and then there's an option for permadeath. Now, please, I can't stress this enough. You have to play with permadeath on. It's the whole point of the game, just seeing how far you can get without dying, and it takes a lot of strategy, and you really get tied to your character. When you're surrounded by enemies, you really start to panic, because you're like, oh boy, my guy's about to die here, and I have to be able to save him. Like, on my second character, I had a couple of hours invested in him, and I made a silly mistake, such as casting a spell that extends my maximum life, and I just killed like a major boss in the game, and my spell ran out, and the extra hit points that I had gotten from the spell killed me. So a silly mistake such as that just lost me hours and hours and hours of progress and good items on my character. But that's the fun in it, you know? I started all over again, you know, picked a couple of different skills, and, you know, there you go. I'm back down in the dungeon seeing how far I can get this time. And of course your character can level up, and when you level up the skills that you picked in the beginning of the game, you can further advance them. So such as, let's say, Dead Aim, or Deadshot, you can keep on skilling this skill up so that eventually you won't be able to miss any enemies whatsoever. And then there's, you know, you can improve your critical hit rate, you can improve your shield skill, there's passive abilities with all these skills, and you get new abilities, new magic, there's tons of stuff. It's very customizable, and it's a heck of a lot of fun. Now, it's not just all about hacking and slashing your enemies and just keep on going. They throw in some nice little distractions in there to keep you busy. Of course, I talked about being able to craft. You find all kinds of items throughout the dungeon, and these dungeons are randomly generated, so every time you go into the game, every time you advance the floor, everything is going to be different. The monster layouts are going to be different, the item placement's going to be different, everything's going to be unique and different. So that also means aspects such as side quests, as you can find sort of these statues that will give you side quests which will task you with killing a certain strong monster or finding a certain item. Those placements are going to be different as well. Also, the placement of item shops is going to be different, where as you're wandering through the dungeons, every once in a while you will stumble upon a room where you can buy and sell items, and there's also a place in the game where you can take these items and have a chance of upgrading them, or having a chance of also having them downgraded. So it's sort of a chance that you're playing here. You can take that next best item that you just bought and you know, put it on this pedestal and quite possibly ruin it in the process. But that's one of the biggest draws of the game, is constantly upgrading your equipment. Whereas in most RPGs, when you get a ring with like a couple of fire resistances on there, maybe like an extra attack point, well, in this game it really matters, because every little stat point really counts to keeping your character alive. And speaking of stats, there's quite a bit of stats to take a look at, such as you know, magic, resistance, block chance, critical chance, all kinds of stuff you can see here. Combat is also handled on a turn-by-turn basis, so that since this is a tile-based dungeon crawler, you move one step at a time, and so do your enemies. So when you're moving, your enemy will move. You move, enemy moves. When you attack, your enemies get a turn to attack. So there's a lot of strategy, and it gives you time to think, because you really have to manage your health and your magic in this game, which isn't quite easy to come by. If you're not able to craft potions and stuff, you really have to manage your health by eating food, eating booze. Believe it or not, you drink alcohol to recover your magic in this game. Or if you want to take on the skill to basically be a vampire, and instead of being able to eat food, you get health back by killing your enemies, which is definitely a unique skill that brings a lot of different strategy to the game. Also, I just wanted to note that the music in this game is quite phenomenal, actually. It's got a really large range of different kinds of tracks. Some of them are really like dark and eerie, and some of them are kind of upbeat and happy, I guess you could say. But overall, the music in the game is just really awesome to listen to. I really don't have too many complaints about the game. I mean, it is what it is. It's exactly what you'd hope for in a roguelike. But I do have one thing that kind of bothers me, and that's the fact that all the armor and such that you find in the game does not change the physical appearance on your character. It only kind of just affects your stats in your character equipment menu. So besides weapons, all that cool armor that you're getting, none of it affects the look of your character whatsoever. He looks the same throughout the entire game, no matter what kind of class you're playing as. It's always that same boring old character design. So overall, with all of its quirks and charms and challenge and just overall fun of being able to watch your character grow and develop in the constant fear of death, let me tell you guys, if you haven't tried out a roguelike, this is a great one to try. It's only $4.99, available on Steam, and if you're kind of scared of the genre, this is the one to try out. It's not too challenging. Roguelikes are really known for being super hard. This one gives you the options of different difficulties, but I please stress that you have to play with permadeath on just to get the full experience of this game and a taste for what roguelike RPGs are all about. So anyway guys, thanks for watching. If you try the game out, let me know if you like it in the comments below.